All right, we got my man Dylan Marma on the podcast. He's quite the little success story over here. He's you know, I met him up in college, when we were doing our thing up there and doing the college life, and he dropped out of college and decided to pursue his dreams. Everyone thought he was crazy, but I don't think anyone thinks you're crazy anymore. Dylan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for today's show, and it's always great getting a chance to connect with you, man.
Yeah, I know. We actually keep in pretty good touch. I talk to you like once a week through like Instagram and all that. I always
Absolutely.
I always love it. You do it right. You do it right. You have a good brand. You don't overdo it. We were just talking about that the other day. Some people really overdo the branding, and it's annoying. You know.
Yeah, yeah. It's a hate-love relationship with the social media, right? There's times where you love it because it can really get yourself out there in front of a lot of people and introducing. It's done wonders for me in terms of the people I've met through social media. But at the same time, there's a lot of kind of fakers out there, right? Frauds out there on the way that they present themselves and it's again just kind of a hate love thing, but it definitely serves a purpose at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So tell everyone what happened with you. So you were going to Albany. You were the president of our fraternity. Things were going well for you in our little world. You were like kind of the king of that world, and then you decided, I don't even want to do this anymore. I'm better than this. So how did that happen? What made you drop out of school? Which, I'm sure you got backlash from your parents, from everybody. What made
Yeah.
you pursue this? How'd you get started doing that?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad we're starting off with this because it's definitely a pivotal moment in your life, right? When you're in that age and that position in life, when you're going through school, you have a lot of pressure from both the family, from the peer group, and for myself, growing up in about an hour and a half north of New York City. I always saw myself going to work on Wall Street and going. I was going to school for accounting. Was going to get my CPA and go probably start with the Big Four and then try to get into a hedge fund or something like that, right? Because that's what I was exposed to from an early age, right? I saw my dad as a recruiter on Wall Street. I had many family that worked in
Oh,
Manhattan,
really? Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, so that's really what I was exposed to, and that was always a path that I saw myself choosing almost by default, just because I had seen what other people had done out there, right? And I'd say that going through college, we had of course, you and I and everyone else, we had a ton of fun out there, and we were all kind of at the same time we still were able to get our stuff done and go through it, but I think at a certain point, I realized that. Not only was in 2 years into school, I realized that not only were the habits I was building probably not setting me up for long-term success outside of the fact that I was doing okay in school, right? It was just kind of the going out, but it's fine, right? It's what everyone does in college, right? You're going
Yeah,
out and
I know
partying
you.
all the time. But I knew that I wanted to start to make kind of some shifts in terms of the way I was spending my time. So what I did is I started picking up a lot of books, and a lot of that started off with the elementary personal growth books, right?
Yeah, you got the how to win friends and influence people,
Yeah,
and that you
yeah,
start with
all the
that.
basics, right? You
Yeah,
always start.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
A
Oh
lot of
yeah,
us,
I know 'em.
it starts there, right? And then it starts to kind of open up your eyes to what else is out there, and that led into more real estate and finance reading, and eventually started to dabble with different forms of sales and entrepreneurship, and all of it led back to real estate. So it was part way through the first semester of junior year when I decided, listen, I can't do the school thing anymore. I did not see anything I was spending my time doing in school leading me to my long-term goals. And I said, what do I have to lose, right? It's time to pick up and really pursue my dreams. I remember one book particularly that was actually gifted to my dad, and he didn't give me a lot of books, but this was one book that I left sitting there for months. And I remember waking up on a Sunday morning, super hungover, and I picked up this book called Choose Yourself by James Altucher. And it was all about just how to create the life by design, in a sense, and how we have a lot more choice than we think we have in life in terms of who we are, what we're meant to do. And it really gets you kind of thinking in more of a contrarian mindset of thinking outside the box and not just following in alignment with what society tells you to do. And it was just for me, it was the right time that I read that book, because the state of mind I was in was very receptive to doing something different. And I remember that the exact moment as I was diving into that book one day on a Sunday afternoon when I decided I'm going to move to California.
Yeah.
So
I wrote that book down. I'm definitely going to pick that up. That's awesome. I did not know that. Now,
yeah.
so you had told me a story that you were actually, like shoveling driveways one day in New York, and you decided to move to California, because I know you were doing the whole thing, network marketing. You didn't want to do school anymore. You didn't see yourself being a CPA. All right. So flash forward. You're shoveling driveways. Tell me that story. What made you actually move to California? Like, buy the one-way ticket.
What's the next, right? We got into, selling alternative energy, LED light bulbs, doing network marketing, you name it, right? Just flea market business, selling off cologne, right? Whatever it might be, right? And so I was doing all kinds of different, almost experiments with entrepreneurship, and just kind of seeing what stuck at the time, and learning sales and marketing and things like that. I was of course still needing cash, because none of the business was really taking off. So I was doing overnight. You would work doing snow plowing and snow shoveling on commercial lots, for apartment complexes. Actually, kind of funny. In the middle of the night, we'd work 30-hour shifts. Literally, you'd be going nonstop for 30 hours in freezing cold, shoveling snow and plowing snow as it come up. And
you never shied away from getting your hands dirty. You've always been down. I mean, we bust tables. Yeah. You were never were scared to get your hands dirty.
Well, I started in construction at 15, right? So I've always been working hard, right? Never been scared of, hard work and 12-hour days and hard labor. But it definitely makes you grateful for the value of $1 when you do that for long enough, right? So I remember I literally saved up like $2,000 in cash. I was getting paid in cash, as I was shoveling snow. And I remember telling myself, like, this is enough. I'm just gonna buy the one-way ticket to California. Didn't have a job lined up. Didn't have a business plan, but I had $2,000. Even though rent in California is $1,500, I said, give it a shot. And so I took off out there. I was fortunate to stay at one of our college friends' couch for a few weeks.
Wow, who was that? Oh, Polito?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so
you were on a couch?
Yeah, well, I started off on a couch, but then I didn't want to overstart it.
There.
So my friend moved out. One of my good buddies, Ryan from back home. Then all of a sudden we moved into this Airbnb that was charging us $500 a week. So we're sitting here. I got my $2,000. That was gone in a blink of an eye. I was searching for jobs. There was actually one position that I had a recommendation to go work for, which is a real estate investment and education company that I started the application process before I had gotten out there, but it's a 4-step interview, which actually took several months. So by the time, before I even got the job, got the call for getting the actual job, I remember the day where I'd maxed out my credit cards. I'd spent every dollar in cash that I had, and I was pretty confident that I was going to end up sleeping on the beach for a few nights until I could land something. Wow. So what I did was I took my only suit that I had. It was like my mom's going away present for me. It was a $200 suit. And I put this $200 suit on, and I'm the only guy in a suit in San Diego running up and down the boardwalk, knocking and banging on every single restaurant and every single business I can get my foot into, and saying, hey, I need a position. I had a stack full of resumes. Here's my resume. Here's what I'm willing to do, blah, blah, blah. And it was just, at this point, I just needed something to even just, put food on the table, because, I had no more money left, and I needed somewhere to sleep at night. And, it was about, 2 days later after that, when I actually got the call from the position that I had landed with Fortune Builders, which was the company I was working for out there. And, it was a sales position that was involved with, again, real estate education and investments. And I was able to go ahead.
Damn, that I didn't know any of that. That's humble beginnings. Talk about humble beginnings. Sheesh. So flash forward. So you got the job when you were about to sleep on the beach. Now you're working in a real estate education. Now, was that all commission based? You were selling that education course?
Yeah, essentially it was all commission based, right? And it was really a pretty intense environment, I'd say 6 days a week type environment where it's nonstop. You have a book full of various people interested in the education to work with every single week, and you have to pretty much spend between usually 7 or 8 a.m. till 7 or 8 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, and then you're in there Saturdays. And for me, I'd sometimes take calls on Sundays. But I was by far the youngest guy there by over 5 years. Starting off at 20 years old there. Second youngest was 25. Most guys were in their 30s. So I remember looking at myself and thinking, I'm very I almost felt underqualified compared to that because I didn't have previous sales experience or anything like that. I think the reason I had got the job was because I read so many personal growth books, and they liked that. It was a big part of their culture. Really, great company culture, and I learned a ton, being a part of the organization there. But I remember saying to myself day one that, I may not have all the skills or the natural ability right now, but I'm just going to outwork every single person. I just got to be the first one in and the last one to leave. And
I love it.
Right? It was every single morning. It was always getting there like an hour before everyone else and staying late, and it was just a nonstop thing. Soon enough, within a year and a half, I grew to be the youngest sales manager there, where I started to lead a team there, and do trainings and things like that, and really got a chance to start my own investment business too, starting with single family. I was able to buy my first single family rental property, buy a duplex rental property. So that was kind of how I had my first chance to not only be exposed to real estate and see all the different types of investing, but also start my own small portfolio there. And all in all, it was a really good experience. I learned a ton about, leadership and sales and personal growth. So a lot of value there.
It's awesome. And that's one thing you can't teach, you can get your college degree and everything. And, like you said, you felt underqualified, but one thing you can't teach is heart, and you had it. You were willing to put in the long hours, get there first, leave last, and a year later you're managing it, and then boom, you're starting your portfolio. So, and that's what you're doing now. So now you have RAND partners. So you were in California, and then you moved over to Atlanta.
Yep.
So how did that happen?
Yeah. So
country.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I lived in 4 states in 4 years, right? And all of them are pretty much chasing more so business opportunity than anything else, right? And I think you have to be willing to do that when you're young. You have to be willing to move wherever you need to move and do whatever it takes, essentially, right? Because this is the time to do it, right? We don't have, before you're married and you have kids and all those other things in life that eventually a long-term career, right? These things can kind of tie you down to some extent.
But to the biggest extent, we're so lucky that we're single and that we don't have families and mortgages and stuff like that. I mean, you have a bunch of mortgages, but that's different. That's your business.
They're paying me though, right? Exactly, right. So I think that I think I definitely play to that when you're young, right? You have the advantage of being able to follow the opportunity, and I did just that. I remember I had a little bit coming in from my single family, my duplex, and I had a decent chunk of change saved up, and I knew that I kind of had that bug that even though I was doing very well and making what I consider to be great money at the probably in the top 3% or 1% of people that in my age group, I decided that I needed to go out there and pursue entrepreneurship. Right, I felt like I was kind of doing the same thing day in and day out, but I needed to do something that was going to mentally challenge me and stimulate me and give me a challenge that I could see myself, partaking in and going after for the next 40 years, something I could do for a lifetime, right? And I knew that in the position I was in, it wasn't that. So that's when I really got enamored with multifamily real estate, and specifically multifamily real estate using syndication, which is the process of pooling together investor money to purchase a larger asset that one may or may not be able to purchase on their own. That way investors can build a diversified portfolio and I'll have a smaller ownership percentage. And then me and my team, as the operators, we go out there, we do our due diligence, we find the right assets, we put them under contract using our relationships that we've been able to build with various brokers and owners. And then we operate the property throughout the entire lifespan, which is usually about 5 to 7 years. And then we sell the property at a profit. Meanwhile, our investors get the majority of cash flow and appreciation, right? So it's a great vehicle for people that are high income earners that don't really, maybe they don't trust the stock market, maybe they want to have more diversification, maybe you want the tax advantages of real estate, right? So we provide a great product. Essentially, our product is the investment, right? It's a $50,000 minimum investment. Most of our investors come in closer to 100, but they put the initial investment in, and then we create the returns by going out there and operating the property and performing what we do best. So yeah, I got into that. First First, I moved out to Atlanta. I knew I needed to get my network built, and I was heavily educating myself. I had a great mentor in the space named Vinny Chopra that did several hundred million in real estate syndication.
Yeah,
So I got a chance.
yeah, I follow him on his social media, and he seems awesome. I didn't realize that was your actual mentor. He's a good guy to know.
Yeah, he's amazing, man. I mean, he started the business in his mid 50s, and in his 12 years later, he's doing phenomenal. And moved over here with $7 in his pocket. So I mean, he's been an inspiration on multiple levels to me, outside of just real estate. And
Awesome.
yeah, so I got a chance to work and see a lot of what he was doing there in Atlanta. I started to run a meetup group. I held a giant conference with 100 plus paying attendees.
Wow.
And, we had a $500 million in acquisitions speaking on stage there, and I was just getting my start during all this. Right, I just purchased my first 21 unit. Actually in Troy, New York, so it's funny how life brings you back in circles.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Troy's actually an up and coming spot, though. It's no coincidence that it was Troy. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well there. Actually, we're pacing outperforming our initial target on that. We're doing like 12% year one, so pretty happy about that. And as far as the business goes, I had developed a good relationship with Jake and Gino. They run their own podcast called Wheelbarrow Profits.
I love their podcast. I'm subscribed. I listen to it all the time. Actually, I always wondered why you're not on it more. Actually.
Yeah, we're going to start to launch a Rand Partners edition once a week. Actually, so I'll be on once a week pretty soon.
Cool. You have the whole office. You might as well. I mean, microphones cost $100.
Yeah, exactly. So we got it all. It's just we're going to start to launch that soon. But yeah, I've been in touch with these guys for a while and do basically just speaking to them every few months or so. I remember one day Jake had invited me up with a friend of mine that had been working for them up to his house, and we were on the lake one day, and he knew that I was getting into syndication, putting a lot of offers out, and I knew that he was really busy with the management side, and Gino was really busy with the education and the podcast side. So they decided, we basically had the conversation, and we decided that, hey, I'd be a great fit to come in and build out the syndication arm, because they had done 900 units without syndication, just with their own in-house equity, and they built out really, really good systems. But I knew the syndication aspect, and I'm young and I have to grind it out because it takes a lot of work. I do. So I basically came on, and I'm wearing several hats, but really the two main hats that I wear right now are both acquisitions and investor relations. So I go out and I build broker relationships in the various markets throughout the Southeast. We're based in Knoxville, Tennessee. We look at markets that are within a 4-hour drive radius to Knoxville, Tennessee. We're looking for workforce housing, B and C class, usually built before the 2000s. And so I do a lot of the broker connections and communications. I'll underwrite a lot of the deals that come in the door. And then I also wear the hat of investor relations. So we have several hundred investors that invest in the deals that we're looking at. So I do a lot of the communications up front. I send the monthly newsletters out. When a deal comes up, I'll do the announcements. I'll create the webinar. And then from there, I'll do all the one-on-one conversations and walking them through any questions that they have, helping them through any challenges that are taking place, helping them get their funds in position right to invest for the first time, and then from there, of course, going through the process of completing the raise, right? So we actually just completed our first raise was back in November. It was a $6 million property. We had to raise $2.7 million. That one funded very quickly, and we're very happy. We predicted 7%
on that, right? 48 hours it funded.
Yeah, 48 hours, right? So that was
congratulations.
Really,
you're so impressive. You really are. I mean, you're where everyone starting the game wants to be, and you're our age or younger than all these guys. It's so impressive to hear you talk, man. I love everything. The syndication, and I love how you come in on the syndication side. And you're great with that. But anyway, keep going. I'm so impressed.
I love it, man. Yeah, and so that one funded in November. We've actually done really, really well on that. We were actually projecting, because it's a value add deal. There's the market, the rents were way below market. With like $200 premium built in. So we bought them at like in the low mid 500s per unit in rent, and we're already getting close to $700 in rent. We projected 7% year one. We're already pacing over 11% year one. So all in all, that deal's been a phenomenal success. We're really excited about that. And then the second deal we're actually going to be closing on about 2 weeks. We just completed the initial raise. This is a $17 million purchase, which is the largest purchase yet. But all in all, we feel very good about it so far. We've got a lot of exciting updates, and we have a great investor base in place on this one. So that's number 2 in the syndication, which
It's awesome to hear all this stuff. It really is. And now, are these properties there in Knoxville?
So the two syndications that we've done, I participated with the guys here when I first joined on in a deal that was 146 units. That was not a syndication. That was one that had been in the pipeline for a long time. That's here in Knoxville and North Knoxville. But the two syndications that we've done so far are in Louisville, Kentucky. So
Okay.
yeah, so we like that. We like it a lot up there. There's a ton of giant employers. I mean, there's the first one's by Riverport, which is it's basically a 6,200 employee distribution center right on the river. So there's a ton going on there.
A ton of people working there.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other one is actually less than 3 miles away from two of the biggest employers in all of Kentucky. Number one is UPS Worldport, which is the largest UPS in the world with over 25,000 employees. And the other one is a Ford distribution center with over 20,000 employees, all 2.6 miles away. And then there's a couple hospitals in the area. So that's what we look for, is we look for good jobs right in the area. We always have good residents that can live there and pay the bills.
I love it. Yeah. And you are on a completely different facet of real estate than what I do, but it's exactly what we do though.
You do the sexy stuff, right? You do the stuff that's there.
I wouldn't quite call it sexy, but yeah, I mean, essentially, what I'm doing is exactly, what I do is I get to wash my hands of it when it's, but don't. But the thing is, I also work for a landlord, so I actually don't get to wash my hands of it, because say that business that I say, okay, so for example, actually, I won't give exact examples, but say I have a corner spot, say I have a corner spot and it's not vented, and I want to put a cafe there that doesn't need venting, okay, and they sign a 10-year lease, but I represent the landlord, not the business owner,
Right.
So say that business goes out. Say that business goes out in 3 years. I have to now explain, so we'll have multiple offers on certain things, but a lot of times they will neg them because, unfortunately, if they go out of business, then it's a whole new marketing and all that stuff. So I don't get to have it so sexy like Ryan Serhant. You know what I mean? wearing the eyes and shaking hands and taking a picture with champagne and walking away. I still have to sit there with the landlord who's,
right.
Yeah,
you got to vet out the tenants too, right? And that's an interesting space right now with everything going on in retail. You see the cap rates are going up in retail across the board, but that's really what it comes down to now is making sure you have a good tenant. The good thing though about retail,
that's what I'm saying.
What you're doing, retail is becoming less of a, people are going to the store less to go buy stuff. They can order everything online. So it's becoming more of a service, driven business, right? So the best residents are people that actually provide a like actual service or experience that you can't order online.
Exactly. See, I was going to explain that, but you obviously know this game, it's, and even Starbucks launched this new place in Chelsea, and it's all about it's about going in there for the experience, and all that stuff that you can theoretically put on your Instagram and,
Right. It's like a bar all of a sudden now, right? It's like a living experience.
They have a bar. They actually have a bar in there.
Wow.
And it's two stops. I work in Union Square, and Union Square. I don't know how well you know Manhattan, but it's 2 stops away on the L train, and I work at 1 Union Square West. So I go right on the train. It takes me literally 3 minutes to get there. So I meet people for coffee there, like I'd say twice a week. Just at the Starbucks, for example. I'm actually really pumped about the new Hudson Yards. There's a lot of investment going on in Manhattan. That's why people get a little down on the retail business, but I have complete faith in it right now, especially, think about it. If you go to
you're in a city that's never going to be dead end, right? I think that if you're in retail in some riskier areas of the country, then it's definitely there's a lot more.
Exactly. I was driving around in Long Island yesterday, and I'm looking at some of the retail spaces, and I was thinking, but Manhattan, Avenue of the Americas, there's
a lot of tourism. There's a lot of people visiting. There's a lot of business meetings.
More tourism than ever. I'm specializing on the west side, on like the lower west side. So not the actual lower west side, meatpacking, Chelsea, West Village, all the way up to Midtown. So I know that area like the back of my hand. So I could really show you around and, you know, get to know that area. But yeah, more tourism than ever. It's, you know, it's one of the safest cities. It's, yeah, it's so exciting to be there too. I mean,
you know what else is funny? You even look at like Capital One, and now they have Capital One cafes, right? Where instead of just going in the bank and arguing with them, right? Like you know, typically a banking experience goes like you actually go in, they offer you a cup of coffee, they have, you know, Pete's Coffee, they have a collaboration going on there, and they're trying to make it more of like a positive experience and somewhere that you can hang out because they're smart, right? They're looking at what the trends are in society. The other big thing that I think is going to be huge for retail and for apartments are these new complexes that they call suburban living, right? And they had a lot of this going on in Atlanta, where pretty much it's a new build complex, and the bottom of it is almost like an outdoor mall feel, where it's all these high-end retails. I mean, Tesla's no longer doing retail, but you had the Teslas back when they were doing retail.
Tesla has retail. Tesla has one in meatpacking.
No, they're stopping. They're canceling all those. They're cutting costs on that. So it's all going to be online, from what I'm understanding.
No, they're keeping their meatpacking, but yeah,
maybe in New York, right? It's an exception.
Well, yeah, it's like having one in New York, having a location in New York. Even if they lose money, it's sometimes they have something on, you know, Fifth Avenue just to say they have it, you know.
Yes, right. Yeah, so you're probably right in terms of some of the strategic spots, but pretty much the you know, all the high-end, like, fancy retail spots, a lot of beautiful restaurants and craft breweries and stuff will be at the bottom layer, and then they have apartments above them that build up from there. So you're living on top of, like, this outdoor mall feel, and I think you're going to see more of that across the country, I think, because it's giving, you know, apartments, obviously, all the demographics, you know, millennials, they're valuing the portability. They don't want to deal with the homes breaking down on them and then having to do all the maintenance or pay for all the out-of-pocket expenses. They don't believe in the white picket fence American dream because they saw 2008, everyone's home value got crushed, right? So millennials have a different viewpoint on it. I definitely do, and then so do the you know, the seniors are getting they're becoming empty nesters, right? And they're moving out of the home. They want to downgrade to something smaller. They want to sell their home for a nice profit while the market's good, and so you're seeing all these demographic shifts move towards apartments, and then you know, you're seeing all the uncertainty like we talked about in a lot of other areas of real estate, because you got, you know, what's going on with retail outside of New York City, then you got what's going on with you know, office space. You see WeWork left and right, and they own the majority of
WeWork is everywhere.
Yep. And then you got industrial, and industrial I think is a fairly safe spot to be with all the Amazons and things like that, but it's only a matter of time before either Amazon buys it up or it goes overseas. So I think like that's why apartments are getting so much demand right now. And I think, you know, over the last decade we've had an exceptionally good run in terms of the performance of apartments, but I think that I think moving forward they're going to continue to get a lot of eyes on them. I don't think, you know, I even think throughout a market cycle, I don't think there's going to be a day where, you know, we hit another golden age anytime soon because there are so many eyes on them. But I think it's a very secure spot to park your money, and I still think an investor can very comfortably hit, you know, today as a passive investor, even investing with the sponsor, hitting a 15%, you know, average annual return or IRR, or even higher is not, it's still going to be there. And it all comes from being, you know, with a savvier operator that knows how to find the value in these properties and, you know, increase them to market rents or create additional streams of income, decrease expenses, like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's about, you know, like you said, being with someone who's doing their homework. You know, you're not just saying, oh, Knoxville, Tennessee, it's a great area. You know, you're saying, listen, we want this in Louisville because there's, you know, two huge places where a lot of people are working that can afford these apartments, and it just lines up perfectly with exactly your niche of what you're doing. I love it. It all sounds amazing, you know, and that's such a great investment for someone. Say you're a stockbroker, you know, we know a couple. Say you're a stockbroker, you're making money hand over fist, you know, you're just, you know, analyzing debt, whatever you're doing, and you don't want to put your money into risky investments, you know, and even if you know that market, you know, even if you know the stocks, you know, that's putting, you know, $100 grand, $500 into a multifamily building and having you handle all of it. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. Yep.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you know, I it's funny. I just texted you know, our buddy Phil about it because I know he's that on the list. But you know, I think in general, a lot of the guys on this last deal and previous deals, I think you know, a lot of them actually are in New York and they're in finance positions, right? And some of them legally can invest in the stock market, which makes
yeah, of course, they're insiders, yeah.
Right. And then there's also the ones that are there long enough, they realize that, they realize that a lot of it is BS, right? I've had so many of them say,
I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys are much smarter than I am when it comes to this stuff, but them being around it for long enough, they just realize the longer they're around it, the more they realize it's all just a big kind of, it's all a big game in a sense. Right.
It's literally a game, it's like, it's gambling. It's gambling.
Yep. No, exactly. So, I think with this, obviously there's always a lot of risk in real estate or any kind of investment you make, but it's very predictable. It's a very simple math. You're looking at income and expenses and debt, right? And if your income can cover your expenses and your debt comfortably, and you can survive, you have a long enough loan to survive a downturn, and you have a high enough income that will allow you to take care of a drop in occupancy or a drop in rents that's going to happen during a downturn, then you can ride out any kind of a downturn and sell during an opportune time, right? So that's really all it comes down to, right? It's really simple math. It's really simple to understand, especially for guys that have been around the finance world. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of, that them come and look at this. Plus, you get the depreciation benefits. Even as a passive investor, you might be able to write off 20% of your initial investment as depreciation with the bonus depreciation laws currently in place. So that's just paying off.
I didn't even think about that, but that's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so you have it down to a T. Sounds amazing what you're doing. You're actually getting me fired up. I'm actually really fired up right now about everything you're doing. I love it. I'll talk to you after the podcast about this, about some areas that I think are next. I would actually, one reason, the areas like Chelsea and meatpacking and stuff, you get, and now it's all gentrified, but sometimes I'll go to a coffee shop and like the other day, I just sat down next to this lady. I was canvassing one of our areas. I won't say which property, but I had a conversation with her for so long, and she was talking, and she's a New Yorker through and through, and she was just telling me about who to follow and where to find the next spot that's going to be gentrified, and it's not exactly PG rated, but it was just funny to hear her talk. And
if you want the Jimmy Hogan off market opportunities, you got to pay premium. You don't get down to free.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny. Oh man, Marma, it's been great. Listen, one more thing. So I saw you were on a phone conversation with Grand Cardone, huh?
Yeah.
So listen, so how did that? So are you like buddy with him, or you guys just just kind of cross paths sometimes?
Not really buddy. That was just kind of a mutual connection type thing, right? We had a friend that was doing a mastermind that had Grant on, and Grant was speaking with a small group of us on that. But I actually did a coaching session. This is a pretty cool story. I met with Grant about 2 years back.
You met him?
I flew out to Miami and I spent like 2 hours with him at his office, just one-on-one. And pretty much I paid him for a coaching session, right? So because I had some stuff, I'd followed him for a few years, and I was really at a crossroads with my own career. I was in sales, and I was debating between either going into real estate investment, multifamily syndication full time, or going into being kind of a sales trainer, public speaker, because that's a lot of what I had been doing at the time.
Yeah, and it was working for you.
Yeah, exactly. So I went down, I sat down with them, and we talked about all kinds of stuff.
He does both.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the guy I needed the answer from. I'm like, dude, what would you do if you're in my shoes? You see where I am. You see I'm hungry. I'm willing to work, do whatever it takes. I'm not scared of work. He basically looked at me in the eyes. He goes, if I had invested all that time and energy that I put into my sales training into real estate when I was in my 20s, then I'd be a billionaire by now. Right. And at that point, it was a pretty easy decision. He goes, don't do the sales trainer speaker thing. You're going to burn out. It's just going to be constantly you being your business versus the other business you can really scale. So at that point, it clicked. I haven't looked back ever since then. Every day it's been, pushing at the goal. And, so I definitely respect what he's doing. And it was helpful to have that conversation at that point in my life.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy to follow. I'm a big fan of his, especially, the lifestyle changes he made young, which is one, one I'm making now, one you made a long time ago, things that he did, he's an inspiration, Yeah.
And that's, I think people like that, right? He's got a very relatable background, right? He wasn't, didn't come from a super great background, and until 25, he really, he was going downhill in many ways, right? And he talks about it all the time. But then at 25, he turned it on hard. Started with a regular job selling cars, and eventually grew that into the business that he has today. And he spends a lot of his time, more time than he needs to, trying to give back and like teach people what he knows, things like that. So I thought that was really cool, man, and definitely, I thought he set a good benchmark there. And
yeah, exactly. More time than he needs to. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, he just has, you could just tell, he doesn't do the Ryan Serhant thing with the bow ties and stuff. I mean, he does, he really, exactly. He's very relatable, so it's cool with him. It's really, I like him a lot. And that's so awesome that you spent one-on-one time with him. You flew out to Miami. Yeah, he moved down to Florida. He's a California guy, or is he?
Yeah, no, I think he was from I want to say Louisiana at first, but he was in Cali.
I want to say that too, but then he moved out to California, and the taxes were killing him, right?
For the taxes, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's great, man, because my paychecks were getting cut in half in California, and being W-2, and that's been a huge benefit. Now we live here in Knoxville, Tennessee. I probably my all-in monthly expenses are probably a fraction of the price of what anyone in New York pays for their rent alone, right? So I really
forget it.
Really enjoyed,
Oh man, you should see some of the, for lack of a better word, shit boxes that people are paying $1,000 a month for. It's actually insane. I mean, you could go like this and touch the walls, and you have roommates that don't even like you. You know what I mean? You could be living with random roommates, and it's crazy what I see people doing. It's crazy. But Marma, great talk. You have a great business concept. You really are a winner. You fire me up. You really do. I love what you did it with the network. We talk behind the scenes a lot. We'll talk about how you did the networking thing, because I'm going to like one networking thing a week, I'd say right now, and I really want to build it up to the point where I have the knowledge and everything where I can start hosting my own, like you.
Yeah.
And that's
well, man, I want to get a little collaboration going, because I want to start doing some investor events up in New York. So we'll have to link up on that. We'd love to get 100 people together and do a little investor event.
That
sometime
would be amazing. And like I said, I mean, you're gonna have to pay the Jimmy Hogan premium, but I have the next spot. I'm telling you right now, I have it.
Got the next spot. You hear that, folks?
Yeah.
For $10,000, he'll send you the email.
Yeah, exactly. And Dylan will work at the CapEx.
The return on investments, 7 figures though, so it's well worth it.
It's a win-win. But Dylan, you're the man. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be in touch. Never stop being you.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you having me, man. Enjoyed the conversation, and look forward to it. Hopefully we can get the Zoom uploaded.
Yeah, 100%. All right. All right, Dylan. I'll talk to you later.
All right, catch you later.
Yo.